This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Handicappers Report. Alongside Jeff Carl, I am Anthony Mormino, and what can only be described in the Capital District as a very cold, I guess, classic late February morning. It is bright and sunny out there, but don't let that fool you. It is bitter, bitter cold. I guess the upside is how much longer can it last? I mean, unbelievable. Maybe 3 more weeks, I guess?
Well, we got another week and a half of solid cold weather. And Anthony, I guess you didn't get my text this morning that I was wearing a navy blue jacket with a yellow tie.
Yes. Well, I'm wearing a medium blue suit with a completely different yellow tie.
We both look nice.
I think my yellow tie shows up demonstratively stronger.
Yeah, it's a little bit brighter than mine, but we both look nice, let's say that.
It is nice out there, I mean, looking, but that is about it. I mean, we have daylight savings time about 9 days away. You got that to look forward to. You have March 1st tomorrow, but spring 3 weeks away. I don't know how that's going to look, but rough out there yesterday. Matter of fact, in Southern California, where they're going to have rough weather today. Yesterday, though, the first day they did not conduct turf racing during this entire meet. They were off the turf yesterday. They almost assured to be off the turf yesterday. They didn't hit the rainbow pick 60 yesterday at Gulfstream Park. There were 4 losing odds-on favorite horses at Santa Anita. Remember, they only ran 8 races yesterday. In 5 of them, they had an odds-on horse. Only 1 of them won. And also, in case you get a chance, there's a 3-year-old Calbred named Pray Hard that was brilliant yesterday for Jerry Hollendorfer, a sprinter. Rafael Bejarano was going at it. I didn't think the track was enormously fast yesterday and put in the 3rd fastest 6-furlong race of the meet. Now, this is a Calbred, recently turned 3-year-olds. I think he did it all the right way. Be interested to see where Jerry Hollendorfer sends this 3-year-old, but a brilliant, brilliant performance by a young Calbred out at Santa Anita yesterday.
Yeah, and certainly they're going to be getting a lot of rain in Southern California, from today through the weekend. They didn't get the rain that they halfway anticipated at Gulfstream yesterday. Main track still playing to speed. Turf course, it seemed like you had to be laying at least, on the pace or close to the pace to be able to win. As you said, that beaten favorite Rosalind in the feature race, she just kind of got a little bit out of sorts pre-race. Ended up finishing kind of a non-threatening 3rd. I had Camille Claudel in my mixer. Ended up being 2nd at a big price. I just thought, I watched her racing in the Busanda back again, and because I liked her that day also. And she just never really had an opportunity to run in the Busanda, and she showed a little bit more yesterday. But obviously, the horse of Todd Pletcher's in tune. He just continues to keep rolling, in Southern Florida, and boy, she just opened up at the top of the lane. So another 3-year-old filly we can keep our eye on for Todd Pletcher.
Not going as well as Javier Castellano.
Was he 4 yesterday? I think he won 4.
Won the late pick.
I made there was a horse he rode earlier, Theater Star, that Joe Rocco Jr. had rode in her previous start and won easily. And I made the point yesterday. I said, when you're leading rider like that, that's the kind of power you have.
Absolutely.
That you saw a horse with ability, and all your agent has to do is go over to that barn and say, I want to ride that filly. And they forget automatically that Joe Rocco Jr. did absolutely nothing wrong with her, won the previous race by 5 starts, and Joe Rocco Jr. is off, Javier Castellano's on. That's the strength that a top rider like that has.
And his personal late pick 3 was $23 in the parlay, but $46 on the board, which is about where it's supposed to be. On the other side of the coin, at Oaklawn Park yesterday, folks, I implore you to look up, forget the racing, that'll be too much work for a lot of people, but look up the charts of the racing. It is mind-boggling what went on yesterday at Oaklawn Park for the bettors. Now, first off, 2 of the longest shots on the board of the day 1. Now, that very rarely happens. Now, it happened for the good guys for us 2 days ago when we had Evidently. Now, I never thought Evidently, who was 15 to 1 on the morning line, would go off and win and pay. I thought he'd win, put him at $57, but very rarely does the longest shot on the board win, and very rarely does it ever happen twice on one race card. It happened yesterday in the 4th and 6th race at Oak Lawn Park, and I am not a horizontal bettor, and yesterday at Oak Lawn Park, I will show you why I am not. One of the pick threes, now if you have pen and paper here, you can write this down. The winning mutual prices were 31, 60, and 24. That pick three paid just under $12,000. Now, using the pick three involving the next rolling pick three, you had the $60 winner on top, followed by a $24 winner. So that's the two that coexist between both pick threes, and a $37 winner. So you're swapping out a $31 in the first earlier pick three that paid just under $12,000, which, by the way, it did, and the pool was only 16. So you're swapping out a $31 winner for a $37 winner. Nearly $12,000 pick three. I had to write this down. This is unbelievable.
903.
Well, 1806. I don't. The sport got along with $2 increments for 300 years.
The dollar pick
I'm not
was
buying in.
903.
So the $2 pick three with a $31 mutual came back just under $12,000. The pick three with a $37 mutual comes back $1,800. Very tough to play the game. If you got the second pick three with the 60, the 24, and the 37, and you get back 1806, you're having to invest. It was shocking when I saw the pick three get put up. I'm like, it's supposed to be more. You have the longest shot at 60. You have the 24. They are shared horses. You take a $31 mutual, and I transfer it to a 37. I get 1/9. You had to be in tears. In tears. And how about this? I'm sure that has happened, not counting Breeders' Cup Day, because that's such a different day for betting. They don't have it at Oak Lawn Park. But the parlay in the first 6 races, $7.4 million. Unimaginable to me at any racetrack. And I'm going to guess, on Breeders' Cup Day aside, maybe it's never happened. Also, something that I don't believe happened yesterday, if you look up the chart and watch the races of race number 4 at Santa Anita, concerning the teletimer, the fractions posted all were .20. Every single race. Now, I have so many Excel spreadsheets going through the years, which was 1991 when we started going to hundredths of a second. It's so implausible that the teletimer is right. And just to let you know, the odds that in a 1-mile race, all the fractions would be 2.0 is 12.1 million to 1. Bet against. So I don't know what was going on in the 4th race at Santa Anita, but I would not believe the teletimer. I brought up the issue the other day, the teletimer for Normandy Invasion, Equibase, and Daily Racing have different. Now, here's the problem for the racing industry. With iMovie, you can time it exactly. Racing industry has to get there. There's little to no chance the teletimer in the 4th race yesterday at Santa Anita was correct, unless you like 12 million to 1 shots, and I don't. That's a little long for me. Also, you said it concerning Tampa Bay, which I had on Wednesday, and it came back as the biggest winner yesterday, a $42 winner. I know much thinking goes on in the United States that going 7/8 out of the chute on the dirt, coming from the number 1 hole, is death. And I pointed it out on Wednesday, beginning the late daily double, which, by the way, we knocked out of the park. Not so fast at Tampa Bay. And yesterday, the $42 winner coming from the number 1 hole, which we had 2 of them on Wednesday. It's what people say who aren't paying attention. The number 1 hole going 7/8 at Tampa is extraordinary. And yesterday, that $42 winner was really, really there for the picking, as we tried to allude to on Wednesday in the 8th race, that it's just hard to combat old wise tales, but if you watch Tampa and you keep your own stats, you've seen that going 7/8 from the one hole. And you had 2 winners the day before. Thank you very much. And so that was yesterday. I have a lot here, but we don't have very much time. Just
lots of interesting
tidbits
from yesterday.
It was nice to see Shortleaf Stables win the last race at Oak Lawn Park. Ken McPeak training for them now. Ken McPeak had 2 winners yesterday. He trained for his wife. He got a winner. If you don't remember Shortleaf Stable, that's John Ed Anthony. That's the old Lob Lolly stable. Obviously a mere shadow of their former 1980s self. But it is nice to see them. And talking about brown and yellow silks, that was what we led into with our $57 winner, evidently, who wasn't evidently, to the horse's second career start, first time turf, Roy Lamron, who has struck since I was very, very young. He struck with yours truly at $57. We had $90 worth of winners on Wednesday at Tampa Bay. Not the high watermark for yours truly, but a good day at the office.
And maybe we'll get some more winners today. We've got 10 races at Gulfstream Park to get through. Let's start with the opener, race number 1 mile. It is a claiming event. For fillies and mares 4 and up, the claiming price is $6,250.
142, ladies and gentlemen, kicking it off in the opener. Highland Sarah gets my top pick. This is a very sharp barn. We draw the number 1 post position with Dylan Davis scheduled to ride only the second start since May 26th. The comeback race to me was, really just almost a workout. You're talking about middle distance turf, just really to get some practice. Now get back to the dirt, sprinting down inside for second. Number 4 going out for Manny Cruz, coming off of the victory at 6-5 over at Calder, which was the 2-turn mile. Now gets the 1-turn mile today. And for third, number 2, Izzy Power. Luis Saez, it is, to me, very refreshing. The unbelievable level, high level of talent for young jockeys, which has really just evolved in about the last 18 months for us. I mean, you have Luis Saez, you have Jose Lezcano, you have Joel Rosario, and you have Javier Castellano, who I know has been around in New York since 1999, but he's never been nearly this good as the beat goes on. So 1-4-2 in the opener from Gulfstream Park.
And let's not forget the Ortiz brothers. So
yes, they though lead. They are leaders of the next pack. They're not as good as these guys. They're good.
I mean, if I had to decide between Lezcano and Erod, I don't think there's much of a difference.
Well, make sure when you get Bill Mott this summer, tell him he's using the wrong guy.
I'm not saying he's using the wrong guy.
He's using
a couple
the guy
years ago I've said it, but Jose has gotten much better with his fundamentals. But Erod has never been fundamentally a bad rider. Moving on to race number 2 at Gulfstream Park. 5 furlongs on the turf. Starter optional claiming event for 4 and up.
And going back to the same well, 4-8-3, the Jamie Ness well, not at Tampa Bay Downs, but over at Gulfstream Park, where we have already had success. Well, Luis Saez, he gets the mount back, who's been aboard this horse in the turf sprints at Gulfstream Park. And one thing I'll say about the turf sprints, and it was at Gulfstream Park 2 years ago, where after many years I finally felt very comfortable with my sea legs in these type of races. And I've said this before at Gulfstream Park. Where the rail is set, I think, is very important for these turf sprints. If you remember at the beginning part of the meet, which the Daily Racing Form picks as November 30th, they ran these at 108 feet out the rail. And boy, the speed horses have such a good edge. And now this horse, Drunken Love, draws middle of the pack in here, who is just a maven turf sprinter. 67% of the time, or maybe 80% of the time, this horse has hit the exacta. He has had 16 starts, ladies and gentlemen, turf sprinting, and very, very sharp right now with, as I said, a very hot jockey. For second, number 8, Thomas Hill goes out for Joel Rosario, and Gary Contessa's Florida meet has gone very well. In case you haven't seen, he's had Facebook pictures of his child reading the Daily Racing Form, so that does the heart good. This runner gets the outside post, making the third start, since being claimed by Gary for $20,000. For third, number 3, Candy's Halo. I am starting to think that, and I've said this many times before to you folks, and you have to believe it when it comes to betting horses, never be afraid of big prices. I don't know what it is with public handicappers, but boy, I'll tell you, Candy's Halo to me, looking at twice the price plus a little bit of my top pick, fits in the mix. My fear here was that at the post position draw, maybe drew the unenviable position of being the inside speed. Speed on the outside, multiple runners just could make it tough. But you know what? If I would be out of the gate, hell-bent for leather, going 5 furlongs in Gulfstream Park turf course. And if nothing else, make the other jockeys make decisions. But as I like to say, I believe it gives you the best chance to win the race. I don't think Candy's Halo can win this race without going to the front right away. Now, the downside to that is it might cost you any part of the purse or the trifecta for yours truly. 483.
Moving on to race number 3 at Gulfstream Park, 5.5 furlongs. It is a claiming event for 3-year-old fillies. Claiming price is $12,500.
716 going out to the outside here. It's My Business off a recent 12-5 claim at Gulfstream Park after running at Calder a couple races. A big performance in here. Did lose at 2-5 on the board, which does the heart good. Comes back this afternoon. Second start since around Thanksgiving. Draws the outside speed with Luis Saez back in the saddle. For a second, going to the other side of the starting gate, number 1. Baby Butterscotch going out for the third time as being claimed for 12-5 from Phil Gleaves. This horse won by a pole in a restricted 2L race. This race, though, not the restricted language, except for the fact that it is for 3-year-olds, so not a leap for me. So we draw the inside here, which, as I alluded to the other day, don't be afraid at all. For third, number 6, tough to stop if you missed the boat. This is the Frank Calabrese changing trainers once again and going in a new direction. It's third off the claim, 7-1-6 in the third.
Race number 4 at Gulfstream Park is 7 furlongs. It is a maiden special weight event for 4 and up.
We talked about Smart Strike the other day. Of course, I really wanted to talk about Polish numbers on the bottom side of the nearly $60 winner because of the influence. Here, though, very few stallions in the pedigree put any type of shadow on Smart Strike. 1-4-2. I'm signing up right now for number 1, Franklin. In case you're not watching across the country, Michael Maker is just shooting fish in a barrel right now, his entire operation. And as I said, I'll take 3-1 on Franklin from the rail right now, an offspring of Smart Strike, who was brilliant in the debut at better than 15-1 to be runner-up, going 6 at the November meet at Churchill Downs. Now, regress going a mile on the turf. Certainly, when you have Smart Strike and Deputy Minister, you should try the turf at some point. They tried it, it didn't work out. Now you get to back going 7/8. I'll take Franklin on top. And as another thing, as I like to say, the Padua Stables, when Curlin was running in the 4 different silks, Padua Stable, I think, were the silks he wore when he won the Arkansas Derby, but he was part of the mix. For second, number 4, Mia Diaro goes out for the brilliant stallion and runner, Medaglia Diaro, who is $100,000, which means he's chasing Tappet. A brilliant performance off the Saratoga layoff on Groundhog Day, running the mile out of the 1 turn for Joe Rocco Jr., who gets the call back here. For third, number 2, Tis for Tat. Ralph Nick sends out the winner for James Spence. Joel Rosario gets him out this afternoon after this horse had a nice warm-up at Gulfstream Park off of the Belmont Freshening. 1-4-2 in a very intriguing 4th.
Moving on to race number 5 at Gulfstream Park. It's 1 mile. It is a maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds. Claiming price is $50,000.
9-4-5 for me. Number 9 is Life in Shambles, trained and owned by Christophe Clement, making the second career start after a debut for 75, wheels back at 50 after getting beat at 5-2. What I thought was a nice tune-up race, welcoming to the grain. That was on the turf. Now you get to a dirt sprint for dirt route, for second, number 6, Oliver Rush. Gary Contessa claimed this horse for $35,000 and reaches out and gets Joel Rosario. Not a combination you see very often, but going back 2 races back, 1 mile at Gulfstream Park, a very nice effort under Paco Lopez. So I'm going to throw out the turf effort, and congrats, who gets the call back here. And every time I think of congrats, I think of 4th place in the King's Bishop behind 3rd place runner, Ghost Zapper, the last time he ever lost. And I think congrats came out of that race. Jerome? Maybe not. Maybe I have it mixed up with During, the horse During for Bob Baffert. For third place, number 5, World Changer. Javier Castellano gets the mount here, and we're in a zone here, folks, where his horses are just going to get so overbet. I think this horse can get a small piece here. 9, 4, and 5.
And there you have it, Anthony's selections for races 1 through 5 at Gulfstream Park. We need to take our first break. When we come back, we'll finish out today's Gulfstream Park card. So please stay with us. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
I'm Seth Merrill. Join me weekdays at 10 for Racing Across America. We'll look at important races from around the country, get insight from top handicappers and analysts, and preview the upcoming week in racing. That's Racing Across America, weekdays at 10, right here on the OTB TV Network.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Thank you for joining us on this frigid Friday morning. Before the break, Anthony gave you his selections for Gulfstream races 1 through 5. Let's move along to race number 6. It's 1 mile on the turf. It is a maiden claiming event for 3-year-old fillies. The claiming price is $20,000.
And as we had the other day, these maiden claiming races on the turf, I don't care if on the left coast of Florida or the east coast of Florida, to me it's about pedigree. You had a horse who was 15-1 on the morning line on Wednesday that went all the way up to around 27-1. I love this race. We have a horse, it's 2-10 and 8, and I think our audience recognizes there'd be no chance I pick a horse by the name, but at a 10-1 morning line looking at this field, I am very hopeful that we could see twice the price here on the deuce. Simon Pure is a rather nondescript stallion, and it was I thought had an upside as a third, but it didn't work out. But getting back to the pedigree angle, this is a son of Silver Deputy, and Silver Deputy only ran twice in his life. This is going back 27 years ago, 27 summers ago. He is, though, a very, very sneaky, good middle-distance turf influence, and that's where we have the deuce going. If you also look, early in the career, we saw some promising stuff on the turf. Of late, it's been demoralizing. We draw it down inside here. We've shown good speed on the turf, and I think it was about 3 weeks ago when I first mentioned, after probably a week of observation, that Abdiel Jean was doing good stuff. Now, he was at 10, 11%. He's down to 8. Don't let that number really get you caught up. Watch what they're doing. I like win percentage as a function of the number of live horses they sit on. He doesn't sit on very many, so sometimes when they run 4th or 5th, I'm only looking to see how many times I think the jockey made right moves in the race. So when they do get a horse that I think is live, they have a fighting chance, I'm like, you know what? I'm A-OK with this, and I am here, and I do think we could be looking at a $40 mutual with the two who I think is a stick out on pedigree, getting to the turf, back to the turf for the first time since the second career start, which was at Indiana Downs. For a second, the other side of the starting gate, number 10, Coco going out for Phil Gleaves. This horse has had a couple of turf tries since coming to the Phil Gleaves barn. The first one had a little sneakiness in it, and unfortunately enough people saw it to make the horse about 1/5 the price in the next comeback race, but we had a regression. Let's hope this is the go time now going forward, and you have Lemon Drop Kid on the top side, which is obviously a turf influence. He is a son of King Mambo. I know he was a dirt champion in the United States, but think turf also for third. Number 8, going out, Senorita Divina, going out for the first start since trying yielding turf. I'm going to throw that out and go to the Tampa Bay race on Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th. A very good third-place finish when the winner was so far down the road. One of my favorite races of the day, these maiden claimers, 2, 10, 8.
Moving on to race number 7 at Gulfstream Park, mile and a 16th on the turf. An allowance optional claiming event for fillies and mares 4 and up.
We've been down this road before with 361, not this particular horse, but my thoughts on Street Boss, who was a one-run sprinter, power sprinter closer, but he is a very, very good stallion, and the turf lights up the board for $17 a couple of weeks ago for us. I love the turf influence. If you've been following Tampa Bay, Kathleen O'Connell is having an excellent meet over at Tampa, has only run 4 horses. It's listed in the Daily Racing Form. Half of them have hit the board. Somehow she found the phone number of Ron Anderson to get Javier Castellano on board for the first start since late July at Monmouth Park. This might be its chance to get a price on a Javier Castellano runner. For second, number 6, Royal Fury. Love the pedigree for middle distance turf. Langfear on top, Royal Academy on the bottom. A brilliant performance to finish off the board at 10-1 in the Gulfstream Park turf debut. Luis Saez gets the call back. Amarin Racing, if you're familiar with these silks over the last 25 years in the world, a dominant turf operation, and particularly, ironically enough, middle distance turf. And for third, number 1, Hard Not to Like, John Velasquez and Michael Matz. Runner comes out for the first start since the Spinster. 3-6-1.
I believe Javier Castellano is represented by Matt Musiker. Ron Anderson
Joel
is Joel Rosario.
He is by Matt, and that was the famous trade of a couple summers ago that went well for Matt and not so well for Mr. Kelly.
That's right. Moving on to race number 8 at Gulfstream Park, mile and a 16th on the turf. It is a starter allowance race for 4 and up.
12 is an MTO in here, ladies and gentlemen. 11, 6, and 8, my selections in here. And make it gold, double-digit odds on the morning line with Paco Lopez going out for Jason Service. And you get to the idea where this horse has shown good early speed on the turf, which has been unbelievably good the last 3 weeks at Gulfstream Park. And getting back to that Silver Deputy line, Badge of Silver, who was brilliant on the dirt, but he did run in the Breeders' Cup on the turf surface, and he's a very good turf influence. I have to believe that Paco Lopez has seen the goings-on, and with this post position draw, is going to almost be forced into a good hand, which is go. For second, number 6, Castellano Maker, clearly the hurdle to beat in here, coming out of an off-the-board finish as the 8-5 favorite. And for third, number 8, Green Grass going on with blinkers this afternoon. This horse has been a solid performance, middle distance turf. Joe Rocco Jr. gets the call back after riding this horse to a runner-up position in an off-the-turf starter allowance. The waters are deep in here. 11, 6, 8.
Race number 9 at Gulfstream Park, 6 furlongs. It is a starter optional claiming event for 3-year-olds.
Babe Ruth, ladies and gentlemen, 7-1-4 in summation gets my top pick, thinking of Southern California power sprinters. Ricky Griffith, who is having a very good meet over at Tampa Bay, is 3 for 15, as reported in the Daily Race Form. This horse won the career debut. Subsequent to that, 0 for 3 in stakes action. And how about this versatility? Synthetic, sprinting dirt, rooting dirt. Now he gets back to the dirt in allowance, optional claimer, starter allowance. company today with Jose Carabala in the saddle for second. Diabolical IPA. I'm not much of a beer drinker, but an interesting name in here, coming off of a good sprint performance with Javier Castellano as the favorite, finishing third, and for third, number 4. Tell Me a Joke. Eddie Plesa Jr., Joel Rosario, they hooked up for a second place finish at Gulfstream Park off of the November 24th part, 7-1-4 in the ninth.
We're going to wrap up today's Gulfstream Park program with race number 10, 7.5 furlongs on the turf. Maiden claiming event for 3-year-olds, claiming price at $25,000.
3-8-12, ladies and gentlemen, and Lincoln Zephyr. My top pick here with Orlando Boca Chica in the saddle. We're 12-1 on the morning line, and I have to think we're going to receive all of that, ladies and gentlemen. But there have been, in an 0-for-5 lifetime turf experience, there have been some bright, shining, non-winning moments, and today could be a bright, shining, winning moment at a big price. For a second, number 8 going out for the third career start. Second one since the debut on September 14th. First since being claimed for $25,000 from Bill Mott. And for third, number 12, Livingston, son of Mr. Livingston, going out for the third career start. This is Bill Kaplan and his longtime go-to jock, Juan Lieva. 3-8-12 in the finale.
And that's going to wrap up Anthony's selections for today's Gulfstream Park program. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, I'll give you my picks for Aqueduct. So please stay tuned. You're watching the OTB TV Network.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Casano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Handicappers Report alongside Jeff Carl. I am Anthony Mormino, Gulfstream Park for this chilly Friday morning in the books. Now turning our attention to the Big A, resuming their 4-day racing meet. In the opener, we have 3-year-old fillies, open company, maiden special weights, racing a mile 70.
And right now the track is listed as fast. It's in the teens. It might make it to about the 20-degree level today, but fortunately there are just very light winds. That would, to me, would have been an issue if there was a substantial wind that maybe they wouldn't get through today's card. But with light wind, sunny, it's going to be cold out there, but the track is labeled as fast. So in the opener, I'm going to go 6, 1 entry and 2 here. The number 6, Palestrina, you just have to think that she bled in her last outing, which was on January 18th. That was her 5th career start. So she made it through 5 starts without bleeding, but that was easily the worst performance of her career, where she just really never got involved. So I think with the addition of Lasix today, she's posted toward the outside. She is void of early speed. We'll have to see how the track is playing. And I think she's going to need the number 5, who's coming off one single sprint race, to kind of go with the number 2, Fade to Black, who's your top choice. But hopefully that will happen. And I think Palestrina, with the addition of Lasix today, this daughter Medagliadoro can get the job done at 3-1. For second, I went to the Gary Contessa entry of Ballerina Bliss and Williams Lucky Gray. The plain one Ballerina Bliss is not the one I like in this entry. We know Gary Contessa is not very good with first-time starters, and this is a first-time starter going 1.70 miles, so you have to think that this one, as Anthony likes to say, is just getting practice. But the 1A Williams Lucky Gray, you know what, you take a look back at her previous start, and it was pretty much a rough trip. She got bumped at the break. She was ranked behind horses. She was stuck down on the inside. And then she just flattened out when the real running came into play. But a lot of energy was sapped in the early part of the race where it wasn't anybody's fault. She just got into a fight with her rider stuck behind horses after a rough start. So I think Williams Lucky Gray still has the ability to improve, so I put her in the second spot. Taylor Rice named aboard today. And for third, I went down to the inside to the number 2, Fade to Black, who is your even money favorite. 3 seconds in her career in 3 starts. But you know what? They're not making any changes, and there are a couple ways I think that my top 2 choices can improve. So maybe Fade to Black kind of stays where she is. The other 2 horses improve. 6, 1, and 2 in the Aqueduct opener.
And we said the other day where Taylor Rice and Drayden Van Dyke are clearly the 2 leaders in the clubhouse for the Apprentice. And now, if you've watched Santa Anita, now the young man getting bet down to odds on. It's just an amazing. It always pays to be just slightly ahead of the pari-mutuel curve. On to the second half for the early daily double. 4-year-olds and up. Claimers in for 12.5. Non-winners at 3. Dashing 5.5.
6, 7, and 3 in the Aqueduct second race. The number 6, 2 More Jacks. I'm not sure where his last race came from, but certainly was a good one. He won drawing away by 5.5 lengths, and a Never Win 2 Life for 12.5. This is the next logical step. Never Win 3 Life for 12.5. You know, and he seems to like jockey Manuel Franco. You know what? You look back at his form from earlier in the summer when Manuel rode him at Monmouth Park. He ran really well, and he was reunited with Manuel last time, and for some reason it clicked. He won by 5.5. He was a big price that day. You're not going to get 20-1, but I still think you might get a little bit of value with 2 More Jacks. And I don't think he's going to have any problem obtaining his stalking position that he prefers. So let's hopefully he can put 2 in a row together. Let's put the number 6, 2 More Jacks, into the top spot. For a second, I'm going to go with the number 7, Mr. Style. He's been in this condition his last 3 starts. His last 2 races have been okay. He was 2nd and 4th, beating about the same amount of lengths. So again, he posted well toward the outside with Taylor Rice, who slipped down to 25% winners. You know, 30% is awful hard to maintain, but 25% is still very, very impressive. So let's put him in the second spot. And for third, the other Linda Rice entrant, the number 3, Brother Bob, who's dropping down from 35,000, but there's pretty much a question mark here. This horse has some sporadic starts. He ran in March, didn't come back until May, then didn't come back into November. We haven't seen him since. He's dropping all the way down from 35,000. Obviously, he's good enough to be on the board here, but that's a little bit of a suspicious drop. Can't put him any higher than third. 6, 7, and 3 in the Aqueduct second race.
On to the third, we have 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds up, open company, fillies and mares, optional claimers in for 50, non-winners at 2, racing 6.
And it only garnered 6 entries here. I'm going to go 4, 6, and 5. The number 4, Masasi. I mean, she's 1-2 in the morning line. She should win this race. She was 3rd in the correction in her last start. Prior to that, she was 2nd to La Verdad in the same condition. La Verdad went down last week and was a pretty game second in the Barbara Fritchie, and she kind of made a good account of herself there, so that flatters Masasi. Not that she needed much help in this spot, but you have to think if Masasi runs her race, she'll be able to get this one done today. So she's going to be a short price, and I tried to find a horse that I could hook up for a nice exact, and I went out to the outside to the number 6, Stunning Lady. She's 12-1 in your morning line. And if you look back, she's 2 for 2 on the inner track last year. She has been off since September. But you know what, Anthony? I think this time of the winter, it's not a bad time to go for some fresh legs. If some of these horses have been running through the winter, just as humans, it wears on us. It wears on them, too. It can really kind of break them down. And right now, maybe fresh legs are not a bad thing to have. So 12-1, Stunning Lady certainly should have some fresh legs underneath her. Let's put her in the second spot. And for third, the number 5, Cape Cod Carol. The only poor start on her entire page was a turf try last May, and she just has very solid, consistent form. Can't leave her out of the mix. 4, 6, and 5 in the Aqueduct third race.
On to the fourth race, Open Company. 3-year-old fillies, maiden claimers in for 16, dashing 5.5.
6, 1, and 5 here. The number 6, Golden Annie. She was second when she was cut back and dropped to this $16,000 level in her last start, beating my second choice, Star Magnolia. So, again, 6-1 here. Very chalky with my top 2 choices. There just wasn't an awful lot with some of these horses that jumped out at me. As you know, I really do prefer to go for first-time starters in these maiden claiming events, especially at the $16,000 level. But the only first-time starter that even drew my attention was the number 5, Unafraid, and I'm going to put her in the third spot. Firster by Western Expression. I'll consider her, but this is a barn that has limited first-time out starters. So at 12-1, I mean, if she gets in there with a couple of my top choices that are going to be short prices, could make for an interesting triple. But I don't see this going any other way than 6-1 on top. Let's throw in the first-time starter in the third spot. So 6, 1, and 5 in the Aqueduct fourth race.
On to the fifth, we have 4-year-olds and up. Fillies and Mares starter allowance is racing the very popular today, 5.5 furlongs.
Yeah, they won't get very cold out there going 5.5 furlongs and get it over with quickly. 8, 4, and 1. The number 8, Your Time Is Up. She's going to be seeking her third straight win. Last time out, she galloped in a state-bred entry-level allowance race on January 4th, which doesn't count in this open in this open company. Restricted races don't count, so she's eligible for this. And again, a repeat performance of that race puts her in the top spot for me. For second, I'm going to go with the number 4, Shauna Alexandra. She's undefeated in 2 starts, and she was second in a Pennsylvania-bred allowance race. Again, that's a restricted race, so it doesn't count against her in this condition. But that was back in April of 2013, and she's been working well for her debut. We haven't seen her since then. But again, I'm kind of going with a little bit of a fresh legs angle here because, it's been a long, cold winter, and sometimes some of these fillies, and especially the fillies, have been running all winter long. It starts to wear on them. So let's throw in a horse with some fresh legs at 6-1 in the top spot. And for third, I'll go down to the inside to the number 1, Violet Hour. First time she raced for trainer Todd Pletcher, she was third in a $35,000 starter. This is $50,000 starter. She's going to be cutting back to 5.5 furlongs. Last time out, she won a mile, and she was on the pace that day. She was on the pace in her previous start, right on the lead, going 6 furlongs. But I think she's going to have to work a little bit to get to the lead today. Maybe it'll set it up for my other 2 choices. 8, 4, and 1 in the Aqueduct fifth race.
We'll take a quick break. When we come back, second half of today's action from the Big A.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrill.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. will inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Alongside Jeff Carl, I am Anthony Mormino. Up to race number 6 at the Big A Open Company. 3-year-olds, maiden special weights, racing a mile.
And once again, track label is fast at Aqueduct. It's going to be a cold one, but light winds. I think they'll be able to get through the card in the 6th race at Aqueduct. I'm going to go 2, 7, and 4. The number 2 Killer Crossover is 0 for 3, but I think he had an encouraging second in his previous start for trainer Todd Pletcher. We'll be adding blinkers today. Maybe that makes him a little more focused. What I thought was interesting is the rider assignments for the Todd Pletcher entries of the Killer Crossover and Again Some. Killer Crossover, and put in my top spot, was ridden by Erod Ortiz last time. Mirage rode him in his first 2 races. Actually finished a little bit better for Erod. Erod's going to be riding the number 4 Again Some. Rajiv gets back on Killer Crossover. I mean, I don't think you're losing much with Rajiv Mirage. I just like the fact that maybe he hung a little bit last time. They're going to add blinkers. He has an inside post from going a mile, so I think that's really does play into his advantage. I think Rajiv will be able to get a nice, good position with Killer Crossover. I'll put him in the top spot. For second, I went with the number 7 Away Game. He's going to be exiting the same race as Killer Crossover, and he was 3rd that day and only finished 3/4 of a length behind Killer Crossover. Does have a nice bullet work right there at Aqueduct for trainer Rick Violette. And, you know, it's not so much that they're working over the same surface. It's just, I've said this many times, is they don't have to ship over from Belmont. And I know geographically it's only about 7 miles, but it is a rough van ride over there. I've had the dubious honor of making that trip on the van. It's just very rough. It's very cold. And any horse that can just walk over from their stall, I think, has a little bit of an advantage going into the race. So I'm going to put Away Game into the 2nd spot. And for 3rd, I am going to go with the other Todd Pletcher horse, Again Some. He displayed early foot in his debut at Gulfstream Park on January 16th, and that was going 7 furlongs. And we're starting to see some of these Gulfstream Park horses making their way back up north. He's by Awesome Again out of a mare called Orate, who's by AP Indy. So he is bred to go long. And as I said, I don't know if this was Erod's choice or what it was, but he's off of Killer Crossover and riding Again Some. And Again Some is 8-1, Killer Crossover 3-1. Let's see how it plays out on the board. Watch the board. But again, to me, the most interesting thing in here were the rider assignments and how they came to be. I'm going to go 2, 7, and 4 in the Aqueduct 6th race.
Now, when you van over, though, you van over early in the morning, and what's the traffic like?
Early in the morning, well, they have to take all the service roads. They can't go on the Belt Parkway. There's no commercial vehicles. So it's a lot of stop and go. It's just...
But it's like 5 in the morning, right? I mean,
it depends on what race you're in. It can be anywhere from 6 in the morning till 9 in the morning. No. So, I mean, it's not a pleasant trip. And and some horses just don't take to it. They just don't.
On to the 7th race, 4-year-olds and up. Billy's and Mares, claimers in for $20,000. Non-winners are 2 lifetime. And I teased about dashing 5.5 because for those who have followed the inner dirt track for 30 years, we didn't run on it that distance for about 22, 23, and then we'd run like 1 a year at older horses, 5.5, and today we have a handful.
Yeah, and I was just joking about because it's so cold that they made a lot of these races 5.5. Obviously, you're just as cold going mile and 70 yards as you are 5.5. 8, 2, and 10 in the Aqueduct 7th race. The number 8, Mrs. Bean. She was the beaten favorite last time, same spot and distance. Miss Taylor Rice stays aboard today, and I think they'll be able to get it done today. She's 5-2. I don't think she'll be 5-2 when they leave the starting gate. I think she'll be a little bit shorter than that. So I tried to find a horse that I could hook up and make a decent exact. I went to the number 2, Princess Bella on Call, who's 30-1 in your morning line. You know, she couldn't handle the $35,000 Never Win 2 Life. She's dropping down to $20,000. Before that race, she did finally break her maiden for State Bred $25,000 on the lead, and she does have an inside post today. She does have early foot, so you'd have to think this rider is going to be chasing her out of there. And her speed is good today at 30-1. Let's put Princess Bella on Call. Hopefully she can hold on for second and make a nice little exacta for us. For third, I went to the number 10, Perling. Obviously, was third behind Mrs. Bean in her previous start, so a duplication of that performance puts her on the board at 5-1. 8, 2, and 10 in the Aqueduct 7th race.
On to the 8th, open company, 4-year-olds and up. Fillies and mares, non-winners of one other than going 6.
This is a tough entry allowance race here. I went 2 entry, 6 and 1 here. The two entry, same owner, different trainers. Trainer Bill Mott has the number 2, Aliana, the plain 2, was second in a similar race, similar entry-level allowance race, taking a little bit of a break after breaking her maiden in November. She was second that day. She was 7 wide. Manny Esquivel back aboard. I probably will look for another rider if you go 7 wide and get beat, but Bill Mott's going to stay with him. Hopefully he can get the job done today. If he doesn't, it could quite possibly be the entry mate to be Lost in Success, who's returning from a very easy maiden score for trainee Rudy Rodriguez. First time against winners, but that was only her 3rd career start. She had a couple starts last fall where she didn't run poorly. They gave her a little bit of a breather. Maybe she got her act together. And again, she trains right there at Aqueduct and comes right out of her stall to race. So that's a very tough entry for me to go by. Either one of them, I think, could take this event. For second, I went with the number 6, Highest Maintenance. Again, I'm staying pretty chalky in this race, but these 3 horses look like they're just better than the rest. This filly was second in last year's Cicada Stakes on the Aqueduct Inner Track, so she's shown an affinity for the track. She returned on January 26th at Gulfstream Park. She faded as the favorite. Again, this is a Todd Pletcher horse, raced at Gulfstream Park. You're going to start seeing an infusion of some of his horses up here. The money's too good to not take advantage of it. Let's put her in the second spot. And she could win this race also. So, again, my top 3 horses, Aliana, Lost in Success, and Highest Maintenance. You're pretty much splitting hairs. And, again, they're going to be very, very chalky. For third, I went to the number 1, Make the Moment. She's going to be exiting the same race as Aliana, and she was 4th that day, only beaten a half a length by Aliana, and she's 10-1 in the morning line with Taylor Rice aboard. So if you're looking for a little value to throw in your triple at 10-1, she didn't get beat that far by one of my top choices. 2 entry, 6 and 1 here in the Aqueduct 8th race.
In the finale, we have State Bred maiden claimers in for 16, racing 5.5.
I'm going for it here, Anthony. 9, 6, and 5. The number 9, It Was All Good. I always like first-time starters in these maiden claiming events. This is not a first-time starter, but went back and watched this horse's debut on December 7th, and he literally walked out of the starting gate from the 1 post and then ran evenly from there. He didn't lose a lot of ground. He didn't gain a lot of ground, but he did get a nice education on him. Mike Luzzi rode him that day. He's getting a rider I really have never heard of, O.J. Mehta. I looked him up. He's got 14 career wins. But you know what? At 20-1, and this is a suspect bunch, I think he can improve off that race. Now he's posted toward the outside. Didn't help him being on the inside and walking out of the gate. I would have liked to have seen maybe a gate breeze somewhere in the interim. I'm suspicious that he probably has one that's not showing up on paper. So he's going to be a big price, Anthony. Let's just put him on top. For second, I went with the number 6, Pegasus Tiger. 2-1 in the morning line. He was a distant second as the favorite at this level when he was dropped down to this level last time out. Yeah, he did finish second, but he was favored that day. Got beat 9 lengths, so I think he could be vulnerable, but that race puts him into the mix. And for third, the number 5, Inciting, who's 0 for 10 lifetime, and he just continues his descent down the ladder, now coming down to the $16,000 level. His best puts him in the picture. I'm going to take a shot with this second-time starter, 9, 6, and 5 in the Aqueduct finale.
Is the weight right then? If he's only got 14 wins, how come he pulls no allowance?
You know what? Because, it didn't show up on Equibase, but, you only have a certain amount of time with your apprenticeship after your 5th career win, so it may have expired. It didn't
14
determine.
career wins and no weight pull.
Yeah.
Not the best of both worlds.
A leap of faith in the last race I'm going to make
I got to look that up now because that's
yeah, look it up. It's interesting. But again, if after you win your 5th race as an apprentice, the year starts, it doesn't matter how many you win after that. You might only win 1 race.
All right.
But after your 5th race, you have 1 year, and it ends.
Okay. On to this afternoon's television schedule. It's certainly a good day to be inside. We're going to kick off with the Big A, Tampa, Gulfstream Park with their new post time of 1:05. Fairgrounds, Oak Lawn Park, ladies and gentlemen, where the track seems to be a little more normal if you're looking at the teletimer. Santa Anita, Penn National, Delta Downs, Yonker, Meadowlands, Woodbine, Australia A and B, taking us through the night. And in just a couple, well, also go to capitalotb.com. You can get all of Jeff or my selections on the Handicappers Report. And then sign up for a Capital Bets account, ladies and gentlemen. Go to capitalotbbet.com. Makes you eligible for all of the contests we run throughout the year at Capital Off-Track Betting. You get live streaming video plus the invaluable race replays, many, many bells and whistles on our new state-of-the-art wagering platform. Up next will be Seth Merrill. He's racing across America. His Friday lineup has Ron Nicoletti from Gulfstream Park, probably doing the Javier Castellano rain dance, and then Brian Spencer from the Fairgrounds, and Ellis Starr, National Stakes preview from Equibase. And in case you missed it, Equibase and the Daily Racing Forum have gotten on board with Normandy Invasion's time the other afternoon for his allowance, entry-level allowance. Daily Racing Forum 1, Equibase 0. Now Equibase is reporting 133.18. That wraps up the Handicappers Report. Up next, Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.